Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. In today's video, we'll be looking at our coaching staff recruiting for the 2025 class. Who's doing the best? Who needs to step it up? I know this is a question that most of us as volunteer fans have been asking ourselves. Are we doing a good enough job? And obviously, we have to take this stuff with a grain of salt because we will be using one of the recruiting sites for this. But before we get into it, I wanted to pull this up for y'all. This is the all-time highest winning percentages in college football. This is from On3. I saw this last night, but it kind of gave me a little bit of a chuckle. Up at the top, we have Ohio State and Michigan. We all know the Big Ten ball. I mean, they don't really have to play anybody, so they should be honestly at that spot. And then, you see that Alabama's up at number 3. We can understand that. Our Volunteers are at number 11 with a 67% winning percentage. I just think that that goes to show how good the history is at this university, and hopefully that's going to continue to climb over the next 10 to 15, 20 years, whatever. But down here at number 13, okay, at number 13, we have UGA, and look at their winning percentage. I just wanted to point that out to you, okay? I think that that speaks volumes about where their program is and who they are. But as always, y'all, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Huge shout out to all the members, everyone that donates. Y'all already know that you can become a member by clicking that join button just below this video, and you can donate as little as $1 to this channel by scanning that Cash App QR code in the top right-hand corner with your smartphone. We appreciate it so much. Let's get into the video. All right, so today we will be using 24/7 Sports because they have a nice breakdown of what each coach is doing in recruiting. What we're currently looking at are the top coaches for this year, for the 2025 class this season. I just wanted to show this to y'all real quick. I know some of y'all would just like to see, who's doing what coaches, look good as far as going out there on the trail. Now, down here, number 16, we see our coach, Rodney Garner. He is going to be the highest rated coach as far as recruiting goes, according to 24/7 Sports. And that really shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. We all know that Coach Garner has done a great job for a very long time in the SEC of being one of the best recruiters. Several times I believe that he's been the #1 recruiter in the entire country. But they used to call him the bag man for a reason. This was pre-NIL, so y'all know what that means. And then down here, right up under where it says all-time commits, you can see some of the players that he's got from other programs. At number 3, he's got a Tennessee player, and this is ranked in order from the highest caliber player to the lowest caliber player. That ain't all of them. There's a whole lot more, but we're not going to pull that up. We won't talk too much about that today. But if you come back up to the top, up under coach rating, like we talked about, he is ranked 16th nationally, and he has 3 4-stars and 1 3-star committed in this class. And I mean, I think that he's done a great job. Really, he might end up moving up in 24/7 Sports rankings because I feel like, guys like Marion Dodge, Jadon Lofton are probably going to take some bumps up at the end of this cycle. Ethan Utley could as well. So that's going to help him out. But it's not all on Coach Garner. We're going to talk about another coach once we get done with 24/7 Sports stuff. But that coach is not mentioned with 24/7 Sports. So Coach Garner is #1 for them. And number 2 is going to be Coach Glenn Ellaby. This is really big. He's ranked 31st nationally. This is a guy that we've talked about, before. Can he get it done as a recruiter of the offensive line? And just to kind of throw this out there, I think that our staff does, maybe like recruit collectively. It's not just about recruiting your position necessarily, but I feel like that's what they would primarily be doing. Anyway, he has 2 4-stars in this class and 1 3-star. I think that he's going to have some players take a bump up. I could tell you specifically, Doug Utu really should be a 5-star. Nick Moore, I think he's probably at a good spot with 4 stars. But also, man, Antoni Agumoro, I think he's a 4-star at least. He's a really good player. Would not be surprised to see all of his players take a bump up in those rankings. But at the same time, we already know how it goes with these sites. It's all about politics. And I mean, maybe they don't take that bump, but I think he's done a really good job this season. And I mean, we're not too much talking about previous years, but in 2023, that was a really good class as well. And so was 2024. Some of those guys might not have been rated that high, but I think that they're going to be really good players. And we're starting to already see some of the guys from 2023 are, bumping or, breaking onto the depth chart. I think that Sham Umarov is going to be a starter this year at left guard. So I think that Glenn Ellaby is doing a good job. I definitely agree with 24/7 Sports with him being number 2. And then number 3 for our volunteers on 24/7 Sports, we have Willie Martinez, who is the cornerbacks coach. He's ranked 81st nationally, and he has 3 3-stars committed in this class. Those are all cornerbacks. I think that he's doing a pretty solid job of going out and identifying good talent. Could he maybe be recruiting at a little bit of a higher level this season? Maybe, right? But he might end up getting a 4-star who would be considered a blue chip player and Onus Konabani to commit, that would be huge. Again, y'all, I take these ratings and rankings and all that stuff with a grain of salt. My biggest thing for Coach Martinez, which doesn't necessarily have too much to do with what we're talking about today, but he's got to start to play some of these younger guys a lot more. I want to see him do that. Hopefully he will for us moving forward. And at number 4, we have Coach Kelsey Pope, who is the wide receivers coach. He's ranked 131st nationally. He has one 4-star and one 3-star this weekend. Travis Smith will be choosing a school. I think he's going to be choosing Tennessee. So that will help Coach Pope out in these rankings. But at the same time, we know that he's really good at what he does, whether it's going out and identifying talent or if it's just developing talent. I love Coach Pope. Very happy to have him. I hope that we can keep him around for a long time. And at number 5, we have Coach Tim Banks, who is the safeties coach, but he's really the defensive coordinator. I don't know how much he's actually hands-on with the safeties. I've seen him do a little bit of that, but we see that he's ranked 177th nationally, and he has 3 3-stars committed. One of those will be a safety. I don't know who the other ones would be. Now, I don't know if he's going to be getting credit for a guy like Shady Hayward if he does commit, but that would help him out. And just for me personally, that would bump him up just because I want to see him go out and get some good, blue chip caliber safeties. Safety has been a position that I feel like we have not done a great job at, really on the field, but also just recruiting wise. Now, I do like who we have coming in this class. I like what we had in the last class. Again, it's some underrated players there, but we had to see it on the field. He's another one, man. We've got to play these young guys a little bit more. I mean, play the most talented players. I don't care, I do care to some degree. They have to know what they're doing, but find a way to help them learn, like help that learning curve by putting them out onto the field. So on to the next coach at number 6, we have Joey Halsley. And we all know that he's the quarterback's coach. He only got in one player this season. That was GMAC. That's the 4-star that we see here. And he is ranked 221st nationally. But I think that he does a phenomenal job just because, again, he's pretty much only going to be recruiting one player or maybe not one, but he only really needs one commitment every single year. So I think that that's really big. He's done a great job since he's been up on campus. He got Nico, he got Jake Merklinger, obviously this year GMAC. Maybe we can close out on Faison Brandon in a little bit less than a month, a couple of weeks. So that will be big, but I love what he's doing on and off the field. And at number 7, we have Coach Mike Eckler. He's the outside linebackers coach, also the special teams coach. I love the energy that he brings. A lot of the players talk about that with him. So I think that that's huge just in helping us go out and find players and kind of close out on players, make them feel comfortable, get them juiced up about their business, all that type of stuff. So he's ranked 275th nationally. He has one 4-star. And I'm not quite sure who that 4-star is. It might be one of our Leos. But, again, he's a guy that the players are constantly mentioning whenever you read their articles after their visit. So I think he does a really good job for our volunteers. Number 8 is going to be Alec Abelin. He's going to be our tight ends coach. He's ranked 295th nationally. He has one 4-star committed in this class. That's the only tight end that we have, Jack Van Dorselier. And a lot of people don't know this, but Desan Brame, I believe, was silently committed to our volunteers. It actually sounds like our insiders may have already had like a commitment video set up. So he did a really good job with that. And he's very new to coaching tight ends, but I like what I've heard from him. It does sound like a lot of the players like him. So I think he's going to be a star for us in the future. Again, he's very new to this, but he still has, a long time just to kind of show and prove. I think that we will have really good tight ends for a while. Sounds like we're in a good spot in 2026 for several blue chip tight ends. So I love to see that. I love what he's doing for our Vols. Number 9 is going to be Darrell Sims. That's our running backs coach. And he's ranked 310th in the country. Now, it says that he has one 3-star commit. I believe that they're talking about Justin Baker, but Justin Baker really didn't commit to Darrell Sims. He was already committed to Coach Mack last year, but I think that Darrell Sims did a good job once he got the job of, just coming in and talking to Justin Baker. That's the first person who he reached out to. Justin Baker is definitely going to move, or at least he should move up in the rankings. Again, y'all, really doesn't matter. He's a baller. He's going to play very well for our volunteers. I'm very excited about that pickup. So, Darrell Sims, he's going to have to, maybe kind of close out on one more running back in this cycle, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And not mentioned on this list is going to be William Inge. William Inge, he does not have any commitments at this point, and we're going to talk a little bit more about him also here in just a second. All right, so this is my list of our top recruiters on our staff, and what we're talking about right here are the guys that can go out on the road. The only one that's missing is Coach Heupel. I would say that really Coach Heupel is probably our best recruiter, and he's going to help everybody on this list to get things done. So you can maybe put like a multiplier in just because of Coach Heupel. Now, at number one, I have Coach Top. He is a defensive line coach, and that's primarily what he's recruiting. Every single defensive line player that I've seen come up, on a visit and talk, they always talk some about Coach Top. Sometimes they might not even mention Coach Garner. So I think that should tell you a whole lot. No doubt in my mind that he's the number one recruiter on this staff. Behind him, we do have Coach Garner. That's two defensive line coaches, and I think that explains why why our D line is as good as it has been, and why we are recruiting at such a high clip at that position. And number three, I have Coach Glenn Ellaby. I think he's doing a phenomenal job right now, man. I mean, if he ends up landing a guy like David Sanders, all of a sudden, dude, I mean, he might even be able to get bumped up just a taste. But yeah, I mean, both of our fronts, you have to love that, right? Both of our fronts, we're doing a great job of going out and getting that talent. Again, back to Coach Heupel, he knows how it's supposed to be done, and I love the way that he set things up for us. Now, at number four, I have Coach Halsley, and he does only have one recruit this year, but at the same time, think about the caliber of the players that he's going out and targeting and that he's landing. Quarterback is such an important position on this team, so for him to be able to go close out on these really good players, I think that's huge. It's something that we talked about in the previous video this week. Don't underestimate how important that is. I think that we tend to forget, right? Because we're just kind of like spoiled with Coach Heupel. But it's not, typical that we're going to be getting in high caliber quarterbacks all the time. But now Coach Halsley is definitely helping us do that. And then at number five, I have Kelsey Pope. I love what he's doing with our wide receivers, going out and getting different body types, but they're all dogs. That's the biggest thing. Is like he's not getting in all these divas and stuff. He's getting guys that want to go to work and that are going to grind. That's what we need in this offense. Is what you need to be able to, win in the playoffs. Win on the road in difficult weather, things like that, and to win championships. So I love that. Then at number six, I have Alec Ablin. We kind of talked about him not just with this class, but also, I would say in the last class, I believe that he actually was the guy that brought in Cole Harrison. That was really big. And then, for the future, there's some studs. I don't know if we're going to end up getting two really good tight ends next year. I don't know how many they want to bring in, but we've got a great opportunity to do that. So love the way that he's trending. And then at number seven, I have Willie Martinez, the cornerbacks coach. Again, I think he's done a really good job of going out and getting some underrated players. He's brought in some blue chip guys too last year. We have Ricky Gibson, who's probably going to be a starter for us this year. And then also in that portal, we haven't really talked about that, but in the portal, I would say that all the guys that we just mentioned have done a pretty good job at going out and getting talent. But Willie Martinez, I love what he's brought in the portal. Man, listen, Jermod McCoy is going to be a stud. So love to see that. And then at number eight, I'm going to put Tim Banks. And the reason I have Tim Banks right here is just because I'm talking about him recruiting safeties. I don't think he's doing a great job of that. Now, if he goes out and gets a Shady Hayward, things will kind of change for me. And also, we have to see how the players develop that he got last year, and the safety that we already have in this class. But, both of our secondary coaches, I mean, there's still a little bit of meat left on the bone, in my opinion. I think that we could kind of crack into more of the higher caliber blue chip players. I would love to see that for us moving forward. And on to number nine, Coach William Inge. He's brand new. He's our linebackers coach. I love his philosophy. I love his mindset just as far as what he's looking for in a player. He said that he wants a player that's tall, that's long, that's fast, can play sideline to sideline, but is going to be able to fill those gaps, going to be able to get off blocks, but also be versatile and multiple enough to play out in space, playing pass coverage. And it sounds like he might be about to get two players that fit that to a T in Jadon Perlotte and Christian Gass. He does that. All of a sudden, he moves up a whole lot. I think that he's going to do a great job. He's got a very contagious personality. You can tell that the linebacker room already really likes him. So I love that about him. And I think he's going to have a whole lot of success for our Volunteers moving forward. But while we're kind of talking about Jadon, I don't want to go too far off on this tangent, but I do just want to bring this to y'all because, I kind of got a vent. I got to get it off my chest. The more that I think about the way that he's been dropped in those ratings and rankings, the more that I get pissed off about it. If you think all the way back to whenever Jadon had originally committed to the University of Georgia, he was a 5-star. Then he starts to flirt around with Florida State. They bump him down to a 4-star. He starts to flirt around with our Volunteers. Now he's down to a 3-star. So number one, how is this happening, right? Charles Power comes out, says, well, we think that Jadon's too small. We took a look at it, and we see that he's one of the bigger linebackers in this class. Then he says, well, he's not that athletic. We take a look at his film, he's one of the more athletic linebackers in this class. So we know that all that is a whole bunch of BS. And it makes me sick just because this happens not just with Jadon, but with several other players. There's favorites that these sites, kind of play. And it's UGA, it's Alabama, it's the Buckeyes, it's some of these other programs. But especially, I feel like Alabama and UGA, there is something to that. And I'm really starting to see it. There's a lot of things that, I can't really talk about on this channel, but I'm telling y'all, there's a lot to it. So guys like Charles Power, all those clowns, I feel like they need to go. Again, this is going to be the second day in a row that I'm kind of advocating for someone getting fired. I don't know if he necessarily needs to be fired, but he needs to be reprimanded. And there needs to be some sort of a way to maybe balance all this stuff out, because even though it might not mean that much on the field, it does kind of play a factor in what players are going to be going where for future classes. It really does. I mean, it plays a factor in different things. So the more that I'm seeing and hearing, kind of like behind the scenes, y'all, the more that I'm getting very, very pissed off about that. And I don't know if Jadon will ever take that bump forward, but if he does commit to our Volunteers or wherever he ends up at, just know that he's going to be an absolute and total stud. On to the last coach, we have Darrell Sims at number 10. He's our running backs coach. He's also new, just like William Inge. They came around the same time. Now, he doesn't have any commitments in this class. We kind of talked about that, but I love the fact that he goes out and identifies, the commitment that we have in Justin Baker, and talks to him first and make sure that he's solid, make sure that he's going to stay home. I think that's really big. Now, he does need to do a much better job of closing out on some of these other players. Shakai Mills-Knight comes to mind as a guy that we felt like Tennessee was in a really good position for, but now all of a sudden we're like out of the picture, and he's an in-state guy, even though he is from Chattanooga. That's an area that seems like players tend to go to some other, schools and states from. But either way, I think that he's got to close out. I would love to see him maybe close out on somebody before this cycle is up. Sounds like it could be Dwayne Morris, but he really needs to get someone that fits more of what we're looking for, which is that bigger body back to add along with the Justin Baker. So, still has some time. I think he's going to do a much better job, hopefully in 2026. I don't really know how things are trending for us with running backs in that class just yet, but it is something that we will be taking a look at here pretty soon. But thank y'all as always for sticking all the way to the end. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts down in the comment section. What's y'all's list? Who do you think our best recruiter is? Who do you think needs to step it up and needs to do a better job for us moving forward? And as always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.